to EDU Endpoint office hours. Today is March 26th. Thanks for joining us today. It is just another open Q&A presentation today. We've had a tough little bit of time trying to secure some speakers. Everyone's super busy at Microsoft lately, it seems like. So I'm going to actually use this time to even open up the floor to you all. Like, if any of y'all are doing something cool and you want to come share with the rest of the community what you're working on, like we would love to have you. So if you have an idea, like, feel free to ping us and we'll get you on the books. But with that, Richard, I know you put the deck together today, so I'll turn it over to you to kind of walk us through it.
All right, so let's get started here. So we've had, last time we talked about the new Windows Moment release that was coming out. So this week, last couple weeks, not a whole lot going on, except for we had an event last week around Surface. We announced our new Surface 10 and Surface Pro 10 and Surface Laptop 6 devices. We'll talk more about those. We got a couple slides here that goes over what we're including in both of those devices. But one thing I wanted to remind everyone on around Intune is that Copilot in Intune, that is coming. We've talked a bit about it in the last couple of sessions, but Copilot in Intune is not just one product offering. It actually encompasses our Microsoft Copilot for Security offering. So Copilot in Intune is just one piece of that. But that's going to be going public preview on April 1st. And so if you click into that link at the top, that will take you to a blog post that explains what we're including in Intune as it pertains to Copilot for Security. So it's just one sliver of the entire Copilot for Security product offering. So if you're interested in what that all entails, you can go and click through into that. We may have a session. It's kind of a weird spot to be in, because we obviously have Copilot in Intune, but then we have the security conversation, and so we actually have a security office hours that some of you guys are probably also a part of. That they would probably be more apt to cover that entire session. So I don't know if we may talk about doing something similar here, just to make sure that Copilot in Intune is covered from a security lens. So we'll see about whether or not we're going to have a session on that for an upcoming office hours or not. But also with Intune, there's something that one of our software engineers had posted on the Intune customer success blog around integrating Azure Data Factory and the Microsoft Intune Export API. So if you don't know, within the graph, you can obviously export data from the graph, and there are some export APIs that you can leverage to do that. However, you can also integrate that with Azure Data Factory, which essentially takes the JSON output that you get from the graph, and you can send that over to Azure Blob Storage. And if you wanted to, you could actually take that and have Azure Data Factory transform it into effectively SQL tables. So if you wanted to take the data from the export APIs from Intune and you wanted to include that into some custom database solution, or maybe you have your own CMDB on-prem that you want to include that data with, you might want to check out leveraging Azure Data Factory. And I also put a little subscript in here that says this is quite possibly the longest blog post that has ever been written on the tech community. It's a lot of screenshots, but it is a very long blog post that goes over exactly how to configure all this stuff. So if that's of interest to you, take a look at it. I thought it was pretty interesting. Now with Windows and Windows 365, so we've, as I mentioned last week, we had our event where we talked about the new Surface Pro and the Surface Laptop 6 devices, but there's also some announcements around Copilot and Windows 365. So with Copilot and Windows 365, there are a number of new features that we're adding to Windows 365, particularly around security, single sign-on. The blog post goes in. It's this mix of Copilot and Windows 365. It's kind of, to me, it's a little odd that we include both of these things together, given what we've talked about with Windows 365 in that post. But I would suggest taking a look at that. Effectively, what we're doing now is with Copilot in Windows, we have now added the capability for you to not only just use Copilot on the web through the Windows interface, but you actually can leverage Microsoft 365 Copilot as well. So if you wanted to do some internal searching or internal querying through Copilot, you can do that now with Microsoft 365 Chat or Microsoft 365 Copilot. And then we've also announced the general availability of the Microsoft Graph Windows 365 APIs. So now you can use the Graph to interact with Windows 365. So if you wanted to, create your own user interface or pull data, you now have that capability. And then with Surface, as I mentioned, we have now introduced the new Surface Pro 10 and Surface Laptop 6. And so both of these devices are actually for business. They aren't consumer devices that you'll see available to buy at like your local Best Buy. These devices are business-focused devices. And so with the Surface Laptop 6, this device is leveraging the new Intel Core Ultra processor using the H series processor, which provides up to 2 times faster performance. As you've probably seen all over the internet, there's this new key that we're putting on the keyboard. It's the Copilot key. If you didn't know, there's actually an Office key on some keyboards out there. I don't know if it's on every keyboard, but there's this on the right-hand side next to the Control key, there's this Office key. Well, what you'll notice in the little screenshot here for this new Copilot key, we're effectively we're reusing that same key. So the Copilot key, Office key, you now have a key to interact with Copilot. We also are including 19 hours of battery life, supports fast charging, repairability. We have simplified repairs. Replaceable parts are also included, so you can, not included, you can replace the parts on the device, including the motherboard and the battery. These devices also include an NPU, so a neural processing unit that is provided through Intel. And so these devices are, or what we announced, I've got the spec sheet here if you guys are interested. The specs are also here for what we're including throughout the Laptop 6, but then also with the Pro 10. So Pro 10, very similar in terms of the spec sheet. I'm not going to go over everything that's on here, but if you guys were interested, both of these devices, again, announced last week, and they'll be available soon. And with that, the most important thing I think on this call today is going to be this issue right here that came up last week. On the 22nd, we actually released an out-of-band patch for the March 2024 cumulative update that was released for Windows Server. So Windows Server, actually, let me get the version. So Windows Server 2012 R2, 2016, 2019, and 2022, they're all affected by this. I forgot to put it in the text here. But if you click on that link, it's going to take you to the same post. It'll have all that information too. But the tool I'm going to read on this one is that the cumulative update that came out for server in March may cause a memory leak on domain controllers with LSASS when it's serving up any Kerberos authentication requests. There was a patch that was released on the 22nd. That link, you can actually click that KB that's listed there. That will take you directly to the Microsoft Update catalog. That patch will replace the original March 2024 CU. So KB 503-7422 replaces 503-5857. It's not available via Windows Update. So if you just searched for updates on your DC, which most of you probably don't do that, but I know some may do that, you won't find it if you try to just search for it directly through Windows Update. So you will need to download it directly from the Microsoft Update catalog. Again, I posted the link directly to it right there. And you can then import that directly to WSUS if you're using WSUS or Config Manager to patch your servers. We do strongly recommend that you do not apply the original March 2024 security update on your DCs. Again, this is all related to a memory leak that happens with LSAS. And so with a memory leak, if you're crashing the LSAS process, you're probably going to have some issues authenticating with Kerberos. So make sure to deploy that patch rather than the original one. And with that, any questions? I see a lot about taking off the Windows key. Yeah, we're not taking off the Windows key. Windows key is going to still stay in the left-hand side. We're just basically replacing that Office key that some keyboards have, some don't, depending on the size of the keyboard. We're just going to put the Copilot key on the right, and then you'll have the Windows key on the left.
When you say Office key, like, does it actually open up like Office, or are you just talking about like the right-click context menu key?
That right-click context menu key, that's supposed to be the Office key.
So it's supposed to launch Office?
Mm-hmm. Supposed to launch. Yeah.
Mine never has.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's not like the Windows key that I think vendors are, and this is why it's kind of like it's like an optional key, because you don't see it on every keyboard. Like, I've got it on my Surface keyboard. I'm not
Me
using
too.
it, but I've got a Surface external keyboard that I use, and that so I've got the fingerprint sensor to the left of that, and then that's the key to the right to that is the Office key.
I had no idea that was the Office key.
Yeah.
Because my Surface has the Office key, but like my external Logitech keyboard just has a function key.
Yeah.
FN. Yeah.
Yep.
You learn something new every day.
I know. And with that, we've got some Q&A to go through. So, unknown user asks, what Office key? All right, is there using the Office key? See? Look at that.
I think you can just reuse that slide from last week, right? I didn't know I was off the team now.
You're not on the team. You have been
voted off.
You have been removed.
Yeah. You're fired.
Just kidding.
It's okay.
No, we've been using this for every Q&A, Scott. This is the only time you read it.
Maybe I need, I need to change my name and go by John.
Yeah, we're gonna call you John or something.
Yeah, go by my first name.
Go your real name. So, man, we're learning all sorts of new things now, right? Like, did you guys know that Scott's real name is John? No, this is not a joke. This is serious.
No, yeah, it's true. I know that.
Yeah, so Scott is John.
Yeah.
Look at all this stuff. We've got the Office key. Yeah, so it's really interesting that page that you linked to. You want to use the Office key. You need the Office key W opens Word, opens Excel. Like, oh, there's a Yammer key. Oh, I think I sent this one to Eric Orman. The Office key and Y.
That's got to be one of the most least used key combinations.
Opens Yammer. What, the Yammer doesn't even exist anymore. It's not even a product. It's gone. Or
you have to do Office VE.
Office key L opens up LinkedIn. So
there you go.
If you ever want to just get to LinkedIn real fast, you can hit Office key L. Take you right there.
Yeah.
That's fun.
One thing I will say, I just found this out today. We have moved that Microsoft Mac admins community, if anybody was a member of it. And that is now on LinkedIn.
It is.
That's a great call out, Scott.
So when they announced that they were doing it, Garrett actually sent it over to me. And the first thing I thought of was, we have groups on LinkedIn. I didn't know that we had groups on LinkedIn. Maybe you guys knew that. I don't go to LinkedIn all that often.
We know.
I was like, but yeah, that's not new.
I'm just like, okay, that's new to me.
Yeah.
No one's ever invited me to a group on LinkedIn. Maybe just I don't have enough friends or something.
Well, I just saw that I was just informed of that change today. So it may have been done a week or two ago, but anyway, I put the link there for anybody in the window who wants to join that group.
Looks like Garrett joined it.
I did join it because it's actually a really good group. Again, I know we've talked about Mac management a couple of times on this call. Well, really all Apple management. And Arnab has presented a couple of times for us, and we actually have him coming back once Platform SSO releases. He's already agreed to come back, and so he runs that with Neil Johnson and some of the other cat folks. So yeah, if you haven't joined that group, highly encourage you join that. Just to see what other organizations are how they're doing this and kind of what they're doing when it comes to Mac management. I think it's just a great group to be a part of. So definitely encourage you to join. There's a way better Slack. I've actually heard about that one too. That one is a good group.
Yeah, and we were kind of talking about, because we have the internal team, but it's really hard for external folks to do anything there. I mean, and we also have to approve every single person that joins our team. So one of the things we were talking about was actually trying to move the team that we have to either Viva Engage or to, I guess now maybe LinkedIn Groups is the place to do it. So I don't know if we're going to do that, but it might make sense for it because it will make your guys' life a lot easier to join. Because with Viva Engage or with Teams, it's hard for you guys to get notifications. It's hard for us to approve people. It's not a very seamless way to get people into a community and communicate back and forth. I don't know if LinkedIn Groups is any better, but it seems to at least be easier to get people to join and approved.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can, it's a lot easier. I mean, because once you click join, you can just join the group.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's something we're talking about. If y'all have feedback or you want to share any tips or anything, I mean, we're always listening. We're open to it. So we'll keep you posted if we end up doing this. Probably won't be until the next school year if we introduce it, but we're definitely looking at it. So with that, I know Eric had a question. I don't think we've addressed it yet, but is there an updated time frame for retiring the Microsoft Store for Business /EDU? I haven't heard of an updated timeline.
I mean, isn't it gone already?
No, it's still there. Now you can't do a lot in there anymore, but
right. I mean,
you could still go to educationstore.microsoft.com.
All right, so let's all go there.
I'll share my screen.
Yeah, there's nothing that I'm aware of that's changing here.
Yeah.
So the documentation says that the retirement has been postponed, and we will update, but they have removed it looks like the removal of private store capability for the store has been removed.
Which was already kind of taken care of with Windows 11 in a lot of ways.
Right. Yeah.
So
whoever, sorry, I didn't see you ask the question, but
I think it was Eric.
Yeah. So what are you using out of the store? Is there anything you're doing that requires the Store for Business or Education?
Not much really, but we were just waiting to see what the replacement was going to look. The little bit we had there, people are slow to change until they're forced to change. So I like having retirement dates to say, here's the deadline.
Okay.
So I was just curious because I know, what was it, quite a while ago, Carlos Diaz had put on a thing about the plan, but the plan seems to be delayed. So I was wondering what the dates were.
Yeah, and I think at this point now, with how Intune has integrated the Windows Store new app type, that you can deploy those apps already from there. Effectively, that means that if if you wanted to deploy store-based apps, you would do it through Intune, and then the company portal would be the client-facing thing. That instead of using the Microsoft Store app, you just use the company portal. So if you wanted to make apps available, so they can go pick and choose the apps that they want to install, then that would be the way to handle that. And then just remove the apps from if you're targeting like private store. Do you guys have people that are using like Windows 10 still that are
That's
using
most. We're still testing Windows 11.
Got it. Okay.
So
they're using the private store capability in 10 still?
a little bit, yeah. And then for some reason, excuse me, I didn't refresh myself on this. I thought there was going to be a new store experience and the old one was going away, but yeah, maybe it's in tune, but yeah.
It's completely gone now. So I mean, it's the replacement is there. So right now it would be using the company portal and then looking and going to like apps and Windows apps and finding the Microsoft Store new app type.
Right.
That's what you want to deploy to those users if you wanted to allow them to pick and choose the apps that they want to install.
And for them to update easier. So
right.
Okay. I was just curious because that's one of those documents that every once in a while I see. I said, nope, they still haven't updated. They're still delaying. So it must be a lot of customers dragging it out.
Yeah.
Even though the clock's ticking and we're aware of the date, we're trying.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, I don't want to say drop dead dates because I don't know what these things are, but,
well, we know for Windows 10, it's October 15th, 2025.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, we know that date is coming. So
unless ARC is going to be available for that too, but we're not going that way.
Right. Yeah. Well, then extended security updates, so you're still going to have Windows 10 out there. Like people will still be able to use it if they purchase extended security updates. But for those that aren't purchasing those, they won't have security updates after that date. So they'll need to move to Windows 11.
All right. Well, thanks. I just figured I'd ask. I usually don't provide a question. There's my shot.
All good. Thanks a lot.
All right. Richard, just real quick on the Windows 10 extended updates. Is that program expected to work like the Windows 7 one where there's product keys that you add in to activate the ESU license? Like there's no expected change in the way that part operates?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay.
That's not going to change. Yeah.
And I guess one more thing with that is Windows 11 LTSC going to be a thing that's going to come out? A kiosk image kind of IoT, like, is that coming?
It's a good question. I don't know what I can say on this.
Well, we have a blog that's been published that says that there is a Windows 11 LTSC coming. We just don't have a timeline we can show.
Yeah, it is a thing.
Yeah, here was an announcement for it. And we'll put that note, drop that in the chat. But it's going to be second half of 2024.
Yeah, I think that the thing with LTSC is that I think the timing. I think we have to do something. I think it has something to do with the timing of the support lifecycle for it and how it matches up with Windows 10. Or there's something there, I think, that they had to do. So that's why it's kind of delayed. Like, because you would think, then why isn't there an LTSC? Like Windows 11's been out for a few 2 years now. So why is it taking us so long to get an LTSC out? Okay. Let's see. What else we got, Garrett?
So really quick, there's a question. It's not really endpoint related, but it is education related. So I'm going to address it. But Kevin's question is, should we as an education customer already have access to Microsoft Loop? We don't have any licenses for it and we cannot create workspaces, but I thought it was available for education customers, but I may be wrong. So you are not wrong. It is available for education customers, but my understanding is that it's still rolling out. So I don't think it's been 100% rolled out across EDU tenants. And it should be a part of your existing A3 licenses if you're a Microsoft 365 A3 or A5 customer, meaning that in your admin portal, if you see what we call the unified, which is not the support model, not Microsoft Unified, but just the unified license group, it's just called Microsoft 365 A3 for students and faculty respectively. You should see Loop as an app inside that license. If you're broken out, it might actually be under either Office 365 A3 or the extra features, which is a new SKU that we added. Like if you're familiar with remote help, that one falls up under there. So validate that, but I do still think that it's rolling out. But we did make an announcement that Loop, after not being available to education customers, it has been made available to education customers at no additional cost. So hopefully soon you'll be able to create those workspaces.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yep. All right. The next one is Jonathan's question. Is connected cache standalone a real thing? I've applied a few times and never heard anything back.
It is a real thing.
It doesn't.
It is a real boy. But the team that is managing that is getting close to a public preview release. And so they're heads down working on that. They got a pretty small team. So I know a few of you have requested access, and you've been working with me and them to kind of get onboarded. But at this point, they've stopped accepting new customers, and they're just focused on getting the public preview release out, hopefully this summer. But it's software development, so things can get pushed. But they're eyeing on something that's going to be released this year for public preview. So we'll have to wait for that. So hang tight. If you do have Config Manager, though, if you are using System Center Configuration Manager, on your distribution points, you can enable connected cache. And you can even use it for machines that aren't joined to Config Manager. So if you have a device that's just autopilot enrolled going into Intune, you can set up your delivery optimization policies to specify the delivery optimization cache host and put in the IP or put in the FQDN for your distribution point that has been enabled for Microsoft Connected Cache. So you could do that little. It's not really a workaround, but if you wanted to use that for your Intune managed or Entra joined machines that don't have any relationship to Config Manager, that'll work just fine for now. But we're getting close to getting a public preview release, so look for that shortly.
Oh, and Jesse says can confirm connected cache on Config Man DPs works fantastic. Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm going to call out the next one, which is Jose's. It's not a question, but it's a comment. I'd like to see EDUs get access to Windows Auto Patch.
Me too.
Me too.
If you know how to do that, Jose, let me know.
Well, we are in very, I wouldn't say active, but we're in active conversations fighting to get you all auto patch. So it's been heard loud and clear. We'll continue to surface additional data around that. In fact, I was actually teasing with Richard and Scott that we might actually go onto the Intune feedback portal and actually go create that item, and I'm going to have you all go upvote that to draw some more attention to it specifically. So we are fighting for you almost every day, trying to get auto patch. So wish we had a better answer for you, but we're working on it.
And Gary, you do know if there's a place for us to submit this and then all of these guys can go and upvote it, it will be the most upvoted item.
Well, that's kind of the plan, right? Like if we can get this written correctly and we'll just, I like to call it exhaustive feedback. If you're on our MS National Office Hours call on Thursdays, you've heard this before, but we need exhaustive feedback to let both the product group and the business group know that there's a case for this. So we'll work on that. And hey, Dan, Augustine, you are on video while driving in your car, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn your video off for you.
I apologize.
You're good.
Oh man. All right. What else we got?
Let's see. Saul's question is, there are a few HoloLens apps that are available in the store for business and not in the new Intune integrated store. What are the requirements, or is there a documentation that I can share with the publisher that so they can be made available in the new store?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know that the app developers themselves control that particular repository. So I don't know. So we'll look into it, and if there's some documentation we can share with you, we will. I'm actually going to flag your question with an exclamation point so that I remember to go back and do that.
All right.
Leaf says he wants a session about moving from GPOs. He's got legacy admins.
He needs to get rid of his admins.
This is a recorded call.
Oh. Well, you need to retrain your admins. You need to repurpose those admins.
No, that's a great idea. We can certainly accommodate that.
I thought everyone just was born in the cloud. None of this legacy stuff. No, it is a good point though. You know, it's tough for most that are coming from on-prem. You know, we do have a capability in Intune. You've probably seen it if you go into your devices node. There's this group policy analytics node that you could take your GPOs that you have on-prem. You can export the XML files. So basically back up your GPO, get the XML file, and then import it into Intune. And it'll tell you which policies will work and which won't. So if you've got a bunch of legacy GPOs, which most environments do, most environments have the GPOs from like day one for whoever stood up Active Directory like the first day. And you've had policies probably there ever since that people haven't cleaned up. And the person that stood up AD probably isn't there anymore, or it could be you. You know, if you've been at your district for 20 plus years, you might be the person that stood up Active Directory. But most environments that we talk to, they've got a ton of old GPOs that probably you could probably do away with most of them. And so what we often tell customers to do around GPOs is, and if you are going to Intune and you want to just do full cloud management, that this is the opportunity to start fresh. Don't try to pull over old baggage. Because a lot of those policies aren't even really designed for Windows 10 or Windows 11, and so it's a good opportunity to kind of clean up and look and just reevaluate what you have in group policy today to see like what of the policies that we have, what do we absolutely need, and what could we do away with. And if you don't know what you need or what you could do away with, then maybe just don't pull them in and see what happens. Like obviously test with a small number of users and make sure that you're doing things the right way, but there's probably a good chance you can reduce a ton of your group policies.
Yeah, I was actually going to, let me show you this. So this is what group policy analytics looks like inside of Intune. So if you just go into devices node and then group policy analytics, you can actually go and export those group policies directly from group policy management console, import them up here, and then it will go and analyze, right, and tell you is there MDM support, which is essentially Intune support, and if it's even applicable to Windows anymore. So really great reporting capabilities on what you're already deploying and if it's necessary. And then you'll also see, it's grayed out right now because I don't have anything, but there's a migrate button. And that migrate button, kind of what Richard was talking about, right? It's a love-hate relationship with that. I love that I can import those group policies, but just because I can doesn't necessarily mean that I should. And so you can pick and choose what you want to migrate over and actually pre-create those templates. However, I'm going to say this because we have a resident technical master, Richard, on the call. He's also done a fantastic job creating recommended EDU device configuration settings. So if you haven't seen this, this is available online on GitHub. You can go to aka.ms, and I'll throw this in the chat. EDU DC, I believe. And if you just go there, it'll point you here. And this is all of the best practices for EDU configurations. So you could actually challenge your own self to say, do I really need these group policies in my environment, or can I get away with just these imported policies? And does it achieve my desired results? So use the tools available to you so that you don't have to do a lot of legwork.
Yeah, and if you do use those and you find that there's things missing, or you think that people would benefit from some other things that I don't have in there, go ahead and fill out. You can fill out an issue within GitHub. You just open up an issue, and I'll take a look and add things if I think if it makes sense. I'm pretty open to adding things because I'm not in with you guys. Like, I don't know exactly what you guys are doing day to day. So if there are some things that we're missing, happy to include them.
Yeah, I think I even sent you the other day. I'm like, hey, we need to have one in here for disabling Copilot.
Yeah, that's it's a slippery slope, Garrett.
I know.
I can't say the best practice is disabling Copilot when our company is like rebranding to Copilot. So
that's a good way to put it. Our company is rebranding to Copilot.
Telling you, our stock ticker is going to be like COPT or COPLT or something. Everything's a Copilot now. Yeah. So, did we get through all the questions yet?
We did, but there's a few other comments. Our higher ed one-to-one gives the equipment to the graduates when they, graduate. Retiring hundreds of machines out of thousands is painful. Does anyone have a better way?
Are you just asking, like, how do we remove them out of Intune, out of Azure AD, out of on-prem? How are we, by saying retiring, I'm assuming all in Azure AD.
I would say too, but Jonathan, if you are comfortable, feel free to come off mute and elaborate. Okay. I'm gonna assume Entra ID and Intune together, since they're giving the equipment away to the graduates and they are leaving the organization.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I would probably do via the graph, because you have to get rid of the Intune object, you have to get rid of the Azure AD object or the Entra ID object, and that's something that I would just, you're probably best to automate that rather than obviously manually trying to do it through the console. We do have the bulk deletion, the bulk actions thing within Intune, but it only lets you do like 100 devices at a time, which to me is not really, I mean, yeah, I guess technically it's bulk, but who works with only 100 devices at a time? Like,
it's a chunky bulk.
I mean, if you're like a small business, okay, maybe you can fit 100 devices in. But yeah, like, you're gonna have to script that, so, and if the devices are in autopilot, then you probably want to delete that too. So you're looking at really like 3 deletions. You're looking at Intune, you're looking at autopilot, you're looking at Entra ID to completely get rid of that device. And you'll also want to make sure that you aren't going to need that device anymore as well. Like, if it's truly going with that student, it's never going to come back, then yeah, completely delete it out. But if they are going to come back, if they're going to come to summer school or something like that, and they're only going to be away for a little bit, then obviously want to keep that device there. So yeah, just stuff to think about. Let's see. What else do we have?
So here's one, not really, again, not endpoint specific, but more identity related to education. Dan's considering using SDS so that teachers can reset passwords. Is this still limited to cloud-only accounts? We are hybrid for all users currently, and is this a good approach? Dan, I personally am not sure. I'll have to go double check. I want to say that's still limited to cloud only accounts
Mm,
where the teacher can reset the student
Yeah,
passwords.
I think that's an issue where because SDS only has right back to Azure AD, not to on-prem. Just based on the way I've done the architecture, because typically even in hybrid environments where you pulled your rosters in through SDS and you sync it from on-prem, you would have to have some kind of bi-directional coming back. Maybe like the self-service password reset set, but I don't know that change has been made.
Yeah, it still says it in the docs. If you're syncing accounts from on-prem AD via Azure AD Connect, password write back does not, actually it says is not currently supported by the O365 admin portal. This whole note is like, we need to reword that. Teacher password reset will only work for cloud only student accounts, not hybrid accounts synced from on-prem AD.
Yep.
So I think that's still the case.
just go ask Bo. He'll tell you.
I know. Maybe he can.
Just shoot him that link and say, hey.
Yep, I got him. I got it.
No, do it now.
I'm doing it now.
Dan wants an answer.
I'll tell him Dan demands an answer
Dan,
in the next 13 minutes before we leave.
All right. What else we got? So we've got about 13 minutes here, and I did want to actually ask a question of all of you, because in 13 minutes, I'm actually going to be, now 12 minutes, I will be in a call with our leadership regarding blocking Copilot. And what I wanted to understand from all of you is that we have some customers that, and this is primarily in the K-12 space, lesser so in higher ed, but we do have some customers that obviously want to block Copilot. They don't want students having access to it. And what I'm curious about is how you guys today are handling blocking student access to Copilot. When I say Copilot, I mean copilot.microsoft.com or bing.com/chat, or the Copilot mobile apps, whether it's on Android or iOS, whether it's in Edge, both in Windows or iOS or Android, iPad OS. How are you guys handling all of the different inflection points that Copilot is basically so pervasive right now? How are you guys handling blocking that?
Sleep says allow and block with strict search settings in domain with firewall rules. Eric is saying we don't restrict students from accessing any AI. Jesse, we're trying to disable it, but with little guidance, I can't say we've been doing a good job with it.
Okay. And if anyone wants to come off mute, I mean, you can do that too.
Yeah.
I think now we have some spillover. Wait, never mind.
Tomas's statement, actually, my issue is the sudden changes with minimal notification. We were blocking Copilot with the previous method, but we were forced to launch it since there was no method to block anymore. I think that's something that Richard, you're also going to bring up, because we've talked about that, but we also raised that directly with the Copilot team. Actually, this morning I was on a call with them, and we brought just the whole issue of changes and being made aware, but this all is changing so fast and moving so fast, it's hard to keep up. So we know things have slipped there, but we just as the field team who interact with customers like you all every day, we made it known that that's a priority for all of you. So hopefully we're continuing to attack that on a few different fronts, and we're making sure that we're notifying you all of those changes as quickly as we can. So noted feedback, Tomas. Very valid.
Yeah, Francesca says that they block through securely web filtering. Francesca, is that for Windows devices? I assume that's for Windows devices. Is that for all platforms? Windows Hybrid, okay. Yeah, the current method of blocking via DNS is messy. Yeah, that our method to block through DNS, I'm not happy that we put that in place, because a lot of folks will assume to do that through Windows DNS. And if you've ever tried to create a CNAME in Windows DNS, you know that it appends your AD domain name at the end of the CNAME record. And so if you're trying to redirect like bing.com to nochat.bing.com, it actually redirects to nochat.bing.com.contoso.edu, or whatever your domain name is. And so it confuses people, because you think, oh, it's a Microsoft thing, so I need to go to my Microsoft Active Directory server, go in DNS, and go and enter it there. But the redirection really needs to happen elsewhere. If you're going to do it through DNS, you'd be doing it like a third-party DNS. You wouldn't be doing it through a Windows DNS, unless you're creating, like, you can create a secondary DNS server and do it that way. But that's the messy part, if you want to go to like a secondary DNS server and go through all that. So yeah, it's a mess doing it through DNS. What you can do, though, is that there's a header method. If you look at the Manage Copilot docs, where it mentions the DNS redirection, there's a header entry that you can put on your network. So if you have the capability on your network to add a request header to traffic that goes outbound, you can put that header in there. I know that works. I've tested that. That does work. But all that does is just, it pushes you over to Copilot with commercial data protection. Doesn't necessarily block students from accessing Copilot. It just says now you can go with commercial data protection. So there's still some challenges there with the guidance that we've provided. But what I am curious about, though, is for those that might be using a content filter. So if you're using like Lightspeed or Securely or whatever content filter you might be using, are you blocking copilot.microsoft.com? Are you blocking bing.com or bing.com/chat? I'm kind of curious what your experiences have been doing that, and if anything has actually broken. Strict search enforcement has been working well with us. See, Leaf, that's the interesting thing. The messages that we show around strict search for Bing, the screens themselves, like what you probably see when you go to the site, it says strict search does not work with Copilot. It's actually incorrect. Strict search does work with Copilot. But I am wondering for you guys, with strict search, your search experience is probably flagged as primary or K through 12. At least it should be. And so I'm actually going to share my screen and talk about something here. Let's go.
Be careful, you only have 6 minutes.
I know. I got it. All right, share that. Okay. So if you go, and part of this, I think, is our documentation isn't very good at explaining this. But if you go under search and go to configurations, there's this Microsoft search in Bing for work or school. When you click on that, you have the ability here to specify the Microsoft search in Bing experience for school search or work search, and then the type of school that you are. And what's supposed to happen is if primary or secondary K-12 is selected for your entire tenant, then if a student is assigned a student license, so like if you were just using Office 365 A1, like if I go and look at an active user here, yeah, so I've got these student users that are given a student license, right? So whether it's Office 365 A1, whether it's A3 or A5, these students in these plans, they'll actually have a license for commercial data protection for Microsoft Copilot. But because your school district is flagged as a primary K-12 through the search experience, what's supposed to happen is that those students that have these licenses assigned to them, they won't actually be able to access Copilot. It should prevent them from doing that. And I think that's where you're getting that strict search message box that pops up. Because strict search still allows you to get to Copilot. Like if I had a faculty license assigned to me, I actually can get in, even though strict search is set up. So strict search should not prevent you from getting access, but the messages that you see on your screen totally say it. But it's not. That's not the reason why the kids are being blocked.
I think we do it through DNS rewrite and through the firewall. So like when anybody goes to bing.com, it'll actually rewrite that DNS record to like strict or EDU. I don't recall it off the top of my head, but it's like safesearch.bing.com, and then that usually they can't get Copilot to work. So
okay, yeah, because there's a number of different ways you can require strict. Like you could even
no, there you
right.
go. No chat strict strict.bing.com. Here, I'm going to put the URL that I found in chat.
Yeah, you should be able to do like a nochat.bing.com. This is what we recommend you from like a DNS perspective. We tell you to redirect bing.com to nochat.bing.com. And so for most customers, if they're using Windows DNS to accomplish that, DNS is going to just basically give you a URL that doesn't make any sense, because basically in Windows DNS, your CNAME will map to nochat.bing.com.contoso.edu, like I was mentioning earlier. So it doesn't really map to an actual URL, and so it just ends up failing for all Bing traffic. So it doesn't really work the way you expect it to. All right, so you said you're going to post something in here. Okay. Yeah, this was like before Bing Chat. I guess now we added the blocking chat too. Okay. Oh, interesting. So we have strict.bing, because when you do manage Copilot.
Oh, if you go back to that document and you expand the map at network level, it'll tell you how to do it. It says, note, this block applies only to the public version of Bing Chat Enterprise. Bing Chat Enterprise will still be available. Public version of the Bing Chat was blocked.
Well, no, see, that's what's interesting is that we mentioned in this page strict.
Like down, go down to the third one. It says map at network level.
Right.
There you go. And then scroll down, and then it'll have a note.
Right. But what's interesting though is these URLs here are different than in the managed Copilot docs, where we mentioned nochat.bing.com. I hadn't actually seen this page. This is new to me. Okay, this is actually perfect, because all of this goes into the exact conversation I'm about. Actually, I got to hop on right now, but to explain like the whole messaging around this needs to be clarified for EDU, because we are going to be releasing this out to younger students under 18 here fairly soon. So the guidance that we need to give to how to control and block this needs to be better. And so thanks for sharing this one, because again, I hadn't seen this one.
No worries.
All right, guys.
All right,
well, I do have
bye.
that.